Hey guys, it's Halloween, so I decided let's give this video some sort of theme. So let's talk about horror anime and why I think they kinda suck. Well, not suck, the anime themselves aren't really that bad. But I think most people would agree that anime doesn't have the same level of fear-inducing piss your pants level of scariness as live action. I always wondered about this as I watched such shows as Higurashi no Nakokaroni, which I gotta say is by far one of the goriest things I've ever seen. It had all the elements of a horror: tension, eerie music, death, and a bunch of cute girls being brutally killed. But did it make me jump? Not really. I mean, it might have traumatized my 13-year-old mind, but isn't that a common thing these days? It relied on gore for shock factor, and it did have those creepy moments, but not to the level of where I wanted to look away from the screen and cry for my mum. Not that I do that with, live action horrors. The best comparison would be the Saw series, which I'm sure most of you have heard of. It's a bit creepy, hella gory, but would it give you week-long nightmares? Depends on the person, I guess. But me personally, not really. I mean, I did have a friend who was utterly scared of the Saw series, but that same friend was also scared of drinking fizzy drinks. I don't know, I think the bubbles freaked him out. Anyway, how horror works is that it purposely shows you things that will trigger our brain to remind us of the fears that we've instinctively evolved with. I won't go too deep into it, but it's like, we're scared of the dark because we don't know of the dangers that lie in there. It could be an animal about to prey on your booty, or a weeaboo about to pounce on you. We're scared of ghosts because we can't see, hear, or even feel them. We're extra cautious of things we don't understand, and that's what kind of helped us survive after all these years. Although you could say that the irrational fear could be a double-edged blade.
What happens next? I'll be right here.
Anyway, basically we're cowards down to the DNA. So since we have all these instinctual fears that we can't help, directors, the sadists they are, they enjoy triggering those very fears. It's no coincidence that some of the scariest movies are ones that closely tie in with reality. Movies such as The Conjuring or Paranormal Activity scared you because that shit felt real. And that's the key really. Heck, they even go out their way to tell you, this is based off a true story, while missing the word loosely because that won't scare you as much, of course. If a piece of media can immerse you, make you relate, and get those universal fears that we are all scared of, like ghosts or death or weeaboos, then that's a horror. But why can't anime do it? Maybe it's because we have a harder time relating to them, because no matter how realistically they are depicted, they're still 2D characters. Unless you're in the deep end, like I mean really in the deep end. Like you'd think you're a 2D anime character that's stuck in a 3D body. That's not to say that it's a complete loss. Shows like Monster or Shiki did indeed scare me at moments, and some moments may have made me pull my feet up from the bed, but that's after a lot of build up, some really good chilling music. But it's just so much easier with live action. It requires near perfection in all those elements to make an anime genuinely scary. But a college student with a potato phone could probably trigger more fear while filming a cringy Slenderman parody. But in general, I'd say anime just doesn't cut it. From a Western's perspective, I have a few friends who are die-hard fans of horror, which I bloody hate because they always freaking drag me along to make me watch those damn movies. And these guys are horror fanatics, so I've always been dragged outside my comfort zone to watch movies that were not made by Hollywood, like The Ring, Japanese version. I don't know if there's an American version. Or the butchered version. And I noticed that Japanese horrors don't have a lot of jump scares. I mean they do, but compared to American horrors, not really as much. And although it didn't have the same thrilling feel of the jump scares and the gore, it still felt really scary, possibly even scarier. Oh, I remember having those nightmares about The Grudge. But I didn't really think much about it until I watched a movie called The Babadook, which is an Australian film, by the way. It's not Japanese, but the point is still there. Now, I won't spoil the entire story of this movie, because it's pretty good and you should watch it. But basically, there's a part in the movie where the mother tells her son a bedtime story. And for some reason, that moment was what freaked me out the most, because there were no jump scares, but the story itself sent shivers down my jello. Just look it up yourself, you'll know what I mean. Hopefully, probably. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that there are different kinds of horrors, and Japanese horrors, I guess, are more about the story itself, instead of the, look, my leg got sliced, blood is squirting everywhere, help me. And anime, which are made in Japan, also have these kind of horrors, where they rely more on the story than the visual. Like Higurashi's story is meant to make you piss your pants, instead of the actual whatever's going on with this crazy killings. And it doesn't help either that visual horror wouldn't work for anime anyway. Big difference between watching a real person get diced up and a 2D anime character. So they have to rely on that psychological aspect of story. So my point still stands. It's not easy to write a scary story. Try it. Pull out an A4 piece of paper and write a short story that would scare me. Heck, let me try. After waking up from a bad dream of being tied to a chair whilst being tortured by a copyrighted scary movie character, I sat up with a cold sweat. My heart was beating pretty fast, but after looking at my dusty console, it somehow calmed me down. I decided to play on my PlayStation 4, but for some reason I could not seem to find my controller. My heartbeat once again became erratic. I looked into my drawers. I looked into my secret stash that contained stuff that shouldn't be seen by a normal person. I looked everywhere, but there was no sign of it. After countless seconds of searching and having an intimate bonding session with my console, I decided to ask my roommate. What? Have you seen my PS4 controller? I need to play my Galgun. Mate, you don't even have a PS4. And why are you wearing a mask? My jaw dropped and I ran back to my room. There was no PS4. How am I meant to play Galgun? The tragedy. End. Yeah, a bit difficult. And that's why most horror in anime don't cut it. Get it? Cut it. Anyway, see ya. This isn't really important, but I should say that, you know, like most media that try to pull on certain emotions from you, it's subjective. So just because a story in a horror anime doesn't scare me, it doesn't mean it won't scare you. And vice versa. But anyway, that's not important. Don't worry about it. Boku no Pico gave me nightmares though, so maybe this whole video was pointless.